time we start, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What are we going to talk about?
But I know how to start us off.
Okay,
today.
send it off.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ellie. Happy birthday to you. Yay. When this comes out,
I'll be 27.
Yeah. How are you feeling about that?
Good. Honestly, like, yeah, bring it on. Just like, it is what it is.
What was your favorite part of this last year?
Moving? It's the first thing that came to my mind, so it must be true.
Yay.
I think it's like
my favorite too.
Yeah.
Moving to San Diego.
I mean, there are a lot of things that happened this past year of life.
Mm-hmm.
I think moving would be number one.
It's a big change.
Very big.
It's a whole other era, a whole other chapter.
I know.
It's exciting.
Keep it coming. See what this year's going to bring.
Do you have a word or a thing that you're manifesting for this next year?
When I was talking to other people, I think I was talking to my mom about it. But it was more about the new year. And I said this past year, I feel like I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this year, I'm hoping to grow a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that just because that's kind of what we were talking about before. Are you okay?
I really needed to burp and I didn't want it to be loud.
You looked like you were crying. I was like, oh no, what happened? Did she hurt herself?
Just a really sweet sentiment.
I'm just really trying to grow this year. Yeah, I'd say growth.
That's good. I love that for you.
Yeah.
Learn and grow.
Yeah. Remember, I think I said it on the podcast, but remember the visual that I was giving about how you're a seed in dirt and it's dark and then you start to grow? That's just what I keep thinking about.
That you've been a seed in dirt?
Yeah. Exactly that. It's exactly what I've been thinking about. Just I'm just a seed in the dirt.
Just looking up to the sun.
Seeing a light. Going towards it. Oh God, I'm delirious.
Yay.
Yeah. Happy birthday to me.
Happy
Wish
birthday.
me happy birthday,
We love
everybody,
you.
because I love it.
I'm speaking for the whole
You.
world.
Yeah.
But I love you.
I will not
glad
be
you're
singing
here.
on your birthday,
Aw.
but not on the podcast because it'd be happy birthday. It'd be one of those
The microphones? Did you ever have those as a kid?
we could change it. That's what I would be like. Maybe I'll just do
Yeah.
that.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's you don't have to sing for me.
It's
But
just
I
you were actually musically inclined, whereas
did
mine
you hear
is
what I just did?
beautiful. I
I
loved
was
it.
laughing through it. I'll play the piano for you.
Right now, you want to go? You want to go play the piano for me?
I think.
We're never gonna get.
Oh my god.
I'll play the piano for you.
That was so creepy and weird. This is what happens
Wow.
when we don't record in the morning.
Yeah.
My mind isn't fresh and just
The
weird.
day has been lived, and this is what's left. Well, that was
Witching hour.
beautiful. I am grateful that you want to play the piano for me.
I did love when you were sitting outside the other day and I was playing the piano and you're like, I feel like a princess.
I literally did. I felt like Bridgerton or whatever that Bridgerton, yeah, Bridgerton, whatever the show is called, because it was just so Ellie. I felt like we were in a mansion and I was outside sipping my tea and the music was in the background. I was like, this is incredible. I love this.
I'm glad that you had that ambiance.
I wish I could play music, but I am appreciative that you can play instruments.
Well, like
not
I
play
said,
music.
you could learn if you want.
I could.
If you want to pick up an instrument in your next year of life.
Yeah. I feel like if I wanted to play any instrument, if I could learn any instrument, it would be drums. But
I could totally picture you as a drummer in a band.
it'd be so much fun. Just like
You'd be
take
so
out
good.
all the energy. That'd be so
You
fun.
should do that.
But I feel like if I were to learn an instrument right now, it'd probably just be the piano.
Well, we got one.
We do. You do.
And the ukulele.
And, ukulele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to talk about friendship today. We're going to talk about friendships today.
Mm-hmm.
And you're my friend.
I hope so.
And one thing that I think has been a journey for me, at least, is like finding friends as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've been friends since we were 13 or something. It really wants attention.
Yes.
When we did a poll about like not sections. Why can I not
segments.
When we were doing a poll about segments, and I think people confused that and were putting in like episode ideas.
Right.
But there were a few around just like finding friends as an adult, making friends. Because I do think the older you get, the harder it is, or it can be.
I feel that.
So maybe we could talk about like our friendship journeys, what that has looked like. Not like for our friendship, but just like making friends.
Yeah.
And then we wrote down some tips.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I can kick us off. I think with everything about my life is very unique. No, but I when I think about friendships, I don't really have a great, I wouldn't even say outlook. I'm not exactly sure what the right word is, but it's not that they're like, I love friendships, but I feel like I don't have strength when it comes to friendships. And I feel when I think about my life, it was always like go, go, go. I was always moving. I was always changing. And so I've used this example in therapy like more times than I can remember, but I've always felt very much like a chameleon. Everywhere I go, it makes things so much easier when you move around so much to just like blend into whatever atmosphere. So when I lived in San Clemente, it was like surfing and very like how you look exterior, because that was like the peak of, it was junior and senior year, and that was like when social media, at least for us, like that's where it got, like I was like, oh, Instagram, all about the posting and stuff like that, whereas like Nevada was like the more like I felt like I needed to shift all my life depending on where I am. And so it brought me really great friends everywhere I went. I always felt like I had a good group of friends to hang out with, but it was very much like as soon as I moved, it's very rare, and I feel that our friendship is like so great because of it, because all of the places that I've moved, I don't really keep in touch with anybody because I just like cut the cord, and that's that. And that's how I am with jobs. Everywhere I go, it's just like once we're done. I just don't have skills enough to keep in touch, and that's like one thing that I lack. And so transferring that over into my adult life, I realize that when I am a chameleon, I actually don't make friends, because I think adult women can kind of see straight through that. Not that it's a bad thing, but when you're not being genuine or true to yourself, it's very clear. And I think I am hoping, I want, my goal or whatever is to make friends with like intelligent people that are at my level. Like I don't want surface level friends. I'm trying to find like real deep connections. And when you have deep connections with people, they realize like what's real and what's not. So I think like it's just, for the friendship process has also been like a journey of finding myself, because it's like, who am I? What am I looking for? Like, what is it? Because one of the things is like, you make friends with like the people that are interested in the same things that you are, and it's like, well, what the fuck am I interested in? Like, I don't even know. Yeah. And so that's kind of been a shift, but I think like I just have always had like sections of friends, and I kind of see that playing out in my adult life as well, as like swim friends, and then school friends, and then back in the day church friends, and all of these things, where now it's like I want to combine them all. And so that's just kind of navigating. But I think like living in a military life has definitely played a role in friendships. And I think besides you and maybe a handful of other people, are the only like friends that I have that have come from my younger self. Everybody else I don't really talk to.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I think it's just hard for me. Friendships are hard because it's just like not that I'm not a friendly person, but I just have never had like a lot of friends. And so I don't really go out of my way to like go search for them as much as I should. Like I'm always like, I want more friends. But then when it comes down to like, as we'll go into like tips and things, when it comes down to friends, like it's just never been something that I've been taught or has been of value to me, because it's like, well, I'm going to move anyway. So my connections with people have just been either surface level or like really, really good until they're not, but then I leave and then that is what it is and it's done and on to the next person. So now I'm just at this like really interesting phase in my life when it comes to friendships to figure out like, what am I going to continue that pattern or am I going to make changes? Am I going to like, what's going to come? So I feel like it's just a really interesting, this is going to be a good episode for me just to see like what it is I want my friendships to look like, especially as an adult, because I think there's a big difference between what friendships look like as a kid than they do as an adult. And it's just like that like distinction or that line between like having friends as like your friendships as a kid versus friendships as an adult changes so quick. Like, yeah, it just really sucks. I also think like living in Australia kind of not set me back, but it's another thing. Like when you move so much, it makes things very difficult, especially when you're not the kind of person to constantly like reach out or talk or text. And I'm that kind of person. So like those just kind of fell away, which isn't a good thing, but it's not a bad thing either because it is what it is.
Yeah.
But just it'll be interesting to see how I want like what friendships mean to me in the future.
I mean, I do think like to your point of not keeping in contact with people from when you're a kid, I think that's pretty common. I feel like you grow up, you kind of learn more about who you are and what you want, and a lot of times you like outgrow those people. Like I can't think of many people from high school that I still talk to. I mean, like on occasion meet up with, but I'm not like reaching out to them all the time either.
Yeah.
I think that's
I don't think I have any like adult friends. I think
what?
I mean I think like
like new friends that you made as an adult.
Yeah, because I think like all of my people that I were really close with were from Nevada, and then when I left San Clemente, because it was just such a quick, like I literally graduated and left 3 days later to move somewhere else, and then I went to college. So I was kind of like already, because I was going to college, was like I'm not going to continue with these friendships or keep reaching out. I mean, we did for a little bit, but they kind of slowly fizzled out. And then in college, like I made really, really good connections with people, but it was my experience was just from high school. So I was like, this is only going to last up until I graduate. And there are still people like I reach out to, but it's like very, very few. And then I left for Australia, and then I came back, and it was like, when I came back, I have my family and then like you and a few others. But as far as like adult friendships, I mean, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I think like I can only really think of two, and that's because we just worked together in Castro Valley, and then we all kind of went our separate ways, or like slowly started to quit the job and move on to the next things. And then we were like, oh my gosh, we went out for drinks one day because we were saying goodbye or whatever, and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, you guys are actually amazing, like why didn't we do this before? And now we're all leaving and moving, and I don't know when I'm gonna be able to see you again. And I know they felt the same way. So now it's like it's just an interesting spot to be in life right now, because I really don't think I have like adult friends. I have friends, but you're like my only friend, and we've known each other since, God, feels like forever. I've grown so much.
You've grown so much. You really have.
Yeah. So that's my friendship story.
Your friendship journey.
Yeah. What about you?
I feel like when I think about my friends as a kid, I have a tattoo of a butterfly. And this means a lot to me in a lot of different ways, because I really do, when I think about like myself as a kid, I think of myself as like literally a butterfly. Like I was always just kind of floating around. I didn't move a lot, but I felt like I would go into groups and like make connections, but they were never like deep, meaningful connections. It was like we're all very friendly with each other, and maybe sometime we'll hang out on the weekend once or something. But it was just like, yeah, I'd float around to that group at school, and then usually, because especially in middle school, like girls can be mean. And so then I would float to another group, and it was just kind of like I was just like drifting around. And in high school, I think I had a lot of really, not a lot, but I had some like really strong friends through swimming. Like you and Megan and Kyle and all these people. And like I would consider y'all my closest friends, but I think that's because we like trauma bonded over all these hours that we were putting in. And obviously we had a ton of fun and made memories too, but like I'd consider that my core group, and just kind of like floating around the different groups between, like you said, church and school. So I resonate a lot with what you were talking about, even if it didn't look exactly the same, because I never felt like I was like, oh my gosh, I have these like 5 solid friends and we do everything together, and I like they're with me all the time through all these different things, because that wasn't really the case. And then when I got to college, honestly, I didn't really make that many friends like in my grade level, if that's a thing. Most of the people I hung out with were already graduated from college. I hung out with like a lot of older people, and I met them through Institute, which is kind of like the activity side of church. And like we talked about in the religion episode, like I was still kind of navigating the church life. Like I didn't feel like I resonated with the gospel, but I still was trying to be good. So I made some like good friends through that, and like we did activities and hung out together, and like I would make acquaintances in classes. But I don't regret how I did college. I finished in 3 years. I like took on all these classes. I had internships that were unpaid, so then I also had a job. I was like training to do marathons, and like I was maxed out in every capacity, which I think they were all like really good self-development things, but it wasn't like friendship development. Like I was very much, it was a mental grind that I was in, and being in a relationship that was like long distance, I feel like that added to it, and it definitely wasn't the healthiest relationship. Like I think I was trying to learn and grow, and I met him when I was 16. Like I was just a very different person, but it felt like we weren't on the same page anymore. And so when I graduated and moved to North Carolina, I, for the first time in my life, felt like so alone. Like I had been distracting myself in college and like had connections, but then I moved to the literal middle of nowhere, North Carolina, and was just like, oh my gosh, I got on Bumble BFF. Because I was like, I want to make friends. And it's just like dating apps. Like people just wouldn't follow through on plans. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this cool festival, we should go. And then these girls would be like, yeah, and then they wouldn't come, or they'd like bail or something. And I feel like I learned how to make friends when I was backpacking by myself in another country with a language I couldn't speak, because it was like survival. Like I had to make connections so that I could like get to the next destination or like go do things, because otherwise I wouldn't have lasted. And I think I kind of lost that during COVID because I was so isolated, but I feel like I'm like remembering these skills that I had and like what the effort took to make those friends, and trying to do that again here. So I feel like I've been able to do that this last year or so, and having you here has also helped, because it's like, you know me so well. I feel like I can be my most authentic self with you, so then when we go to these group settings, like you're saying, I'm not trying to be a chameleon, or like I'm myself because I'm with you and I feel comfortable. So that helps as well. That was very long. I have like so much spit in my mouth from talking.
I know. Long. I was thinking as soon as I finished, I was like, what did I even say? I was like,
no, I think it makes sense. I think that's like the picture of your friendships and like how that's looked for you. Because I do feel like people crave connection so much. And when you're in like sports and church and even in college, when they have these like activities that you can go to, it's like curated opportunities for you to make friends.
And scheduled time.
Yeah. That's like, you have to.
You're going anyway. Yeah. So make the connection. That's where I struggle, is like, not that I've like had to deal with like crazy mean girls, but like I always felt growing up that girls had another motive. They were either looking for the same guy that you like. They were always judging. Like I just never felt like safe around any girls. And I feel like there's only a small few, probably the few that I talk to now, like consistently try to reach out to, where I'm like, I feel like you weren't out to get me. And I think that has really skewed my ability to make friends, because I just sometimes don't trust girls, and I take things I'm jumping ahead, but I do take things so personally that it's almost like I'm still like in my immature mind, because I'm still assuming that everybody's like that, but I haven't had like a adult friendship to prove otherwise. And it's hard too, because a lot of like adults, I think, make friends through work and then like kind of slowly go out there. But like I'm kind of fucked, because I'm their boss.
Yeah.
And two, like I work with kids.
Yeah.
So it sucks.
That is hard.
Yeah. And also, this is kind of a side note, but this is my first time being single in probably forever. I feel like I've always been in a relationship. So all of my friends have either been like that person that we just like latch onto each other, or they're friends. And now I'm like, I have to figure it out for myself. Which is good. I'm glad. I'm happy about that. But all at the same time, it's just like it's a lot. It's work.
It is. It's true. Well, should we dive into our tips to make friends?
Yeah.
I want to preface by saying, like, these aren't, at least for me, these aren't necessarily all things that I do like regularly and I'm an expert at. I think they're things that I know work and that I've made friends by doing them in the past, or like I've heard it's a good trick.
Yeah.
But we each wrote down 5.
Yeah.
So do you want to kick?
Yeah. Just kick it off.
Thanks.
My first one, I put be bold and say hello. So this one is very like, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And it's such an easy thing. We were talking about it a few nights ago. It's such an easy thing to do. And by saying hello in any aspect, like we said hello to those girls on the boat, and that was super fun. And so it's just like,
we had a whole night.
Yeah, we had a whole night, and just like being bold with your intentions and putting yourself out there.
Yeah. My first one is actually like the exact same, but it was smile at strangers. And I think along the lines of what you're saying, friendships, there's way less of a like expectation there than with dating. Like, I feel like when you think someone's cute and you're like trying to like catch their eye or like make a flirty gesture and then they like reject you, like that is really scary. It's intimidating. But when you're just genuinely like being friendly for the sake of being friendly and they decide not to reciprocate or whatever, it's like no harm, no foul. You're just being a nice person. And this came up in therapy, and I was telling you about this, of like, it was more for the dating side of things, of like, I am frustrated, not even frustrated, but like it's hard to me, it feels like, to meet people. And I was talking about it with the intention of like to date, but also what she was saying is like, you have to actually make yourself approachable. And like, I know at my 6 a.m. workout class that I have a stone like straight face on and I'm not talking to anyone, and I like, especially in the workout, I'm like zoned in, so there's not really any time to approach. But that is a prime opportunity to like make connection in between, like when we're changing the barbell or something. So I need to think about my face and smile and like be approachable so that people can make a side comment or like start to connect in some way.
Yeah. I love that. My next one, I put set something up. So be the person, we were kind of talking about this before, but just be the person that sets something up or put something together and follow through with it. I think even start small, like invite people over, or when you're on your way to go do something and invite them to go with you, or something small like that, and then work your way up. I think that's like, I think for this though, for me, gonna be honest, is one of the harder things, because I take it very personally if no one shows up, and like that's my own thing that I have to deal with. But this is like one of the harder things for me, because it's just kind of like, I honestly feel like it is worse to be rejected by friends than it is to be rejected by like a dude. And so I feel like that's very scary. And so I think some people like are afraid to put themselves out there to set something up with a group of friends because of that feeling of rejection. That's why I say like start small. If you're already going to go do it, it's like already on your list, like invite someone over, like invite other people to join you. That way, if no one can for whatever reason, which has nothing to do with you, I promise, you had to go do that anyway, so you're already out and about. It's just like an opportunity to invite someone over to have like a little adventure. So that was the second one that I put.
I like that, because I feel like sometimes people think when they have to make plans that it's like an event, like they're hosting a dinner. It's like, no, you don't have to host people. It can literally be one person that you're just like, hey, I'm gonna go to the store, did you want to come? Or something, because then that provides opportunity for them. And I feel like when people know that you are thinking of them when you're making a plan, then they reciprocate that. When they're making a plan, it doesn't need to be some grand thing.
I agree 100%.
My second one was act on fleeting thoughts. And what I meant by this is like, I will think of people, or like even you said earlier with the picture of Bash, like, oh, I should send this to whoever because this is what Bash did in college. It takes 2 seconds, and I'm not saying I'm the best at this, but like when you have a thought or when you see something funny, like sending it to someone, even if it's out of the blue. This is a bigger example, but when my ex and I broke up, I wasn't reaching out to anyone. I wasn't making plans with people. I wasn't like trying to have a conversation. But our friend Emma reached out and this is kind of goes hand in hand, but she was just like, I was thinking of you. I'm going to go grab coffee near where you live. Do you want to come? And like that to me was so meaningful, because it was like I desperately needed someone, but I didn't have I don't know, I just wasn't mentally there to actually act upon it. So when you're thinking of someone, it's usually because they could use that like message or whatever. And social media, we've talked about this on the social episode, it makes it so easy to like, when you see someone doing something, actually engage and like, oh my gosh, that looks so fun, I remember blah 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 blah, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't need to turn into a whole catch up, let's schedule a FaceTime. Just like thinking of you, because I feel like then maybe down the line that can turn into something more meaningful, or like when you're in town and you actually can see them. It's just nice, I think. No,
I like that a lot. My next one, I put deepen casual connections. So I like this one because I feel like all of the people that I've met, especially in San Diego, have just been very like casual, friend through a friend, all through you. And so it's like, that's such an easy way. They're all casual right now, where we see each other like every once in a while, but an opportunity to deepen those connections and have like more meaningful conversations with people, just in order to do that. And this isn't like, I was going to add this at the end, but I'll just say it now, more so to myself. But if anybody is in kind of the same boat that I'm in, is like, sometimes it just takes time. Like your life, and this is for anything, is your life isn't going to change just because you're like, I want more friends. And then tomorrow you're going to wake up and all your friends are here. It's like, I want to work out more. And then all of a sudden you start to do it. Like, things just take time. anything in your life, like with breakups or everything, is like sometimes time is just heals all, and that's like the worst thing. I remember telling you this too, is like, it's just time. It's like literally the worst advice ever, because like fuck time and fuck having to wait. Like you just want everything right now. I know I do. Yeah. So those are my 2 and 2, my 1 and 2.
I think that's good. I think that I need to stop saying I think, but also
me too. My mom said that I say I feel too much, and now I'm like, that's all I can hear myself say is I feel, and I'm like,
I say it every time after you finish something to add to your point. But what I'm trying to say is that people often feel like they need to have so many friends. Mm-hmm. I think this comes from like followers. Mm-hmm. Like you need to have 10 million followers, and that is equivalent to 500 real life friends. Yeah. But I don't think that you can have genuine connections with that many people. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's like, yeah, you get to know people, mm-hmm. and then you decide, or you start to develop more meaningful connections with a few. Because I think to actually have a real deep connection with someone, it takes effort, it takes work. Like being in a relationship, if you've ever been in a relationship, like you know how much time and effort that takes to have like real connections and friendships. That also takes your time. So there's no way you can do that with so many people. Yeah. You can have like friends, but real connections, I think, is different. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there should be pressure to have a lot of those.
Yeah, I agree. I put that too, quality over quantity. What else did I say? Explore what you need/want in friends. Just actively thinking of like what it is that you're looking for in a friend, and like manifest that kind of friend, and you'll see them all over the place. Because I think
you know what you're like looking for now.
No. This also allows you to see like how you can make friends and other options. So like sometimes I'm like, I really want like an outdoorsy friend, but like sometimes like I love outdoorsy, but I know that in the past I've had friends that were just like so outdoorsy that I was like, I love doing this trip with you. I'm not going to come every weekend though. Yeah. So, but it doesn't mean like you can't be friends with that person. It's just like that is your person to do that. Whereas like if you need, the same person that you have like that goes like fucking gets shit faced every night, like, yeah, that's fun sometimes. I don't want to do that every time. And so it's just like figuring out what you need, and not even physical aspects like that, but just, I mean, like what it is, like qualities within yourself that qualities in others that you yourself are interested in like having in your life. And that's where I also put like quality over quantity.
Yeah, that's really good.
Because sometimes you find someone or like a group of people that do all of those things all the time, and then you like check all your boxes.
That's probably someone you have a deep connection with.
Yep.
I don't know what we're on. Number 3, I think, for me. Mine was get comfy being uncomfy. And there was a lot that came to mind when I wrote this. I was thinking about going out and like doing things that maybe you're not like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I know I'm going to know everyone there and it's going to be so fun. The thing that comes to mind immediately is the boat birthday party, where I was like, I don't know if we literally don't know anyone on this. It could be a way to make new friends. Let's do it. And it kind of is awkward, and there's awkward moments, and you're just like, yeah, maybe you'd be more comfortable staying at home. I know, like, I'm always comfortable staying at home, but that's not a way to make friends. And so getting comfortable being uncomfortable is going out of your way to say yes to things and to, like, speak up, be bold. I think it encompasses a lot. There was a second aspect to that now I'm blanking, but that was my point.
Yeah, that is very, very hard. I think in that instance, if I have just been by myself with that option, I would have, 1, not gone. And 2, if I would have like, I wouldn't have gone. I would have been miserable if I was there. But I think I wouldn't have enjoyed myself because I'd be like trying and it would suck. So, but I was glad that I had you to go with, because even though we didn't know, or I didn't know anybody, it was nice to have one person that kind of brings you out of your shell in order to like put yourself out there and make friends.
I will say, like how I was kind of mentioning earlier, I was the height of like being able to make friends when I was traveling by myself in another country. And so I try and like think and channel that, but it is very different. I think the culture here is very different. I think the people here are very different. I think like living in a third world country, people are just more friendly and people are just more like accepting and like kind and generous. And I'm not saying people in the US aren't. But it's true. It's a very different culture. It's like, I think it is much harder to go and do stuff by yourself. But I also don't think you have to force yourself to stay for the whole time. Like if you go and you try and you give yourself a solid 30 minutes, because it is going to be uncomfortable at first. And if you're not having a good time, like no one's forcing you to do that. I don't think every situation is going to be one where you're going to make a ton of connections. But it's also like you're never going to know if you don't go type of thing. In college, I would do stuff by myself all the time. And I felt so awkward. And so like, I was just like, I feel so dumb. But I made friends.
Like in what aspect?
Like going to events that the school put on by myself and like really trying to be like, hey, what are you studying? Things like that, where I'm just like, it's like dating. Yeah. It's like first dates, just in a different way. Like the intentions are different, but I mean, it's kind of a thing you have to practice, and it doesn't always turn into something. And I think that's another thing to remember too, is like, just because you did it once doesn't mean you're going to make friends that day. But don't give up.
Don't give up. I like that. I think, well, I'm on my last one, so I don't know how I got myself here.
I think because I added to your point and then you read another one.
Oh, but I messed you up.
No, you're good.
Well, my last one is don't take anything personal. I find myself, again, having that immature mind, I would say it's just the easiest way for me to put it, is just taking everything personally. Like everything is like on me and it's my fault, or it's because of me and who I am. And obviously that's like a lot to work through within itself. People take things personally when it comes to friend groups, and you know, inviting people over and them saying no, or putting yourself out there and not getting the response that you want, or an interaction that happened with a good friend that didn't go the way that you wanted to. Like everything is a possibility to take things very personally and kind of shove you and have your brain tell you like, this is why you don't do the things that you do. It's like, you just have to stop that and not take it personally and let it go, because half the time it has like nothing, I would say even more than half the time, it has nothing to do with you. And then expressing that need at, you know, the next opportunity. It's just something to keep in mind when you're either trying to make friends or trying to deepen the connections with friends that you already have, like any aspect of friendships. That
maybe this isn't even related, but it made me think of like, sometimes you outgrow people, and I think this is very apparent when you're a kid. But I also can think of friendships, mainly this is mostly in college, where it was like I built these connections pretty early on and I kind of clung to them because I was in a new location at a new school with like everything was new. And I think the more I like learned about myself and the more I did things and like put myself out there and went to these random events by myself and like really wanted to find connections with people who were rock climbers or did whatever, like not in a way of like I'm better than, but it was just like I was forcing a connection that wasn't there. And you can still be like friendly to people, but I think sometimes forcing yourself to stay with what you're comfortable with because that's what you know can be holding you back. And I think that it's important to have a conversation if you're going to just like stop talking to someone. Hopefully that's not like the case. But I think it's also, you should have the opportunity to put yourself out there and to try and find connections that may serve you better than the ones you currently have. Does that make sense?
Yes. I get what you're trying to say.
I don't mean it in a mean way at all.
Yeah. I think for me though, and I agree with that, and I wish I could be that person, or my thoughts on this, let me just stop. Stop. My thoughts on this are like, I don't know, sometimes you have friends. I mean, obviously, if they're very toxic and bringing you down, then that's not a friend. But sometimes, like, I like had friends. I'm like I'm interested in a lot of different things. I have like a wide umbrella of things that are in like that make me who I am. Mm-hmm. And so, like, sometimes I had friends that were only like a sliver of that, and I felt like, yeah, it wasn't being served, but at the same time, it's like, at least I have a friend. And so I see the point, and maybe that's just like, again, that immature mind going back. But in my mind, when I hear that, it's just like, for me, it's more so of like, at least I have somebody. Yeah. That kind of sounds like bad, but I see what you're trying to say.
I think the word toxic, like, I was trying to not say that, but that is really what I'm getting at. Yeah. Is like, I can think of actually when I first moved to San Diego, I made 2 friends, and then COVID happened. And one of these people, I just like was never feeling happy when we hung out. Yeah. Like, I was always feeling like upset. I felt like I was turning into very like a catty person. Mm-hmm. Like, I was so irritated and like just felt drained hanging out with them. And then I would want to vent about it. And that's not me. Like, I don't want to talk crap about people. Yeah. And so I was just like, I didn't feel like I was I wasn't becoming a better person through this friendship. I felt like, and this is on me and my own immaturity as well, but I also felt like I was forcing it because I had no friends here.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let me go back, because I agree with what you're saying, is like kind of forcing a connection that isn't there. And also, if you're with a group of people or a person, and this is for friends or a partner, and you feel less of a person than how you showed up to that conversation, like, maybe think about that. But I like what you said, is because sometimes I find myself opposite. It's not that I'm like forcing a connection. It's like there's some sort of connection here that makes me want to be your friend, but we have nothing in common. So let's, like, I'm friends with people that I have nothing in common with, or like sometimes the only thing that we have in common is like our mental instability, and that's what keeps us going. And I love that. There's just this, I can't even, it's kind of like a spark, but what would be the equivalent to a friendship spark, you know, like just like something in you that's like, this is right. Like, you're just really getting along with this person, even if you have nothing in common. And I think like where I struggled with is I made a lot of those connections in college. I just never followed through. So a lot of the people that, I mean, there are a few that we just kind of fell off and it was the right time to happen. But I would say like, the majority of the people that I met and I would consider friends, especially in college, were just because that friendship spark was there. And then the only like problem is that was just never like followed up or continued. And so, not that that's bad. Sometimes it just like fizzles, or it becomes less of like, you know, when you don't live with them, it's hard to like continue that conversation. I'm horrible at that. So that's what I wanted to add to that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I wouldn't throw it away because that spark is there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I also think like if you are desperately trying to make a friendship happen that's not happening, then like, what's that Mean Girl quote? Like, why are you trying to make fetch happen? It's not going to happen. Like, if it's just not going to happen,
It's
guys.
just not going to happen. And sometimes you'll just have to go back to the drawing board, in the sense of like, maybe just like when you get out of a breakup, honestly, and you're like, I need to do me. I need to work on myself. I think that's can be said the same with friendships. Like, sometimes it's like you need to do a little self-check. Yeah. Okay. To a more positive thing. I have celebrate birthdays. And not just because it's your birthday, but also I feel like it's an excuse to celebrate someone. And it's something that I noted pretty early on in one of our episodes of like something that I think is maybe so small, quote unquote, of like remembering someone's birthday. But I love when people remember my birthday. Like, that's so sweet. And I think it's an excuse to like, if you never reach out to someone all year, you can at least reach out on their birthday and tell them that you're thinking of them and maybe say a nice thing about them.
I love that.
But I think it's a good excuse to do that. And if you're in the same area, like, go to dinner or do something. It doesn't need to be an extravagant event like they did for our friend's 30th birthday where they hired a band and had an ice luge, and I don't remember half the night, but I think you can do something small. And yeah, I think it's a really good way to maintain or make friends.
I love that.
Is it me again?
Yeah.
Okay. The last one I had, actually, I think this was your second one. I said make the plans too, and you said
set something up.
Yeah. So I guess just to reiterate, when I was growing up, I think I made myself the victim by being like, no one invited me, or like I wasn't included, so I guess they don't like me.
Oh, for
when
sure.
it's
do
like,
that all the time.
I never fucking reached out.
Yeah.
I never made a plan. I never invited them. The times we did hang out was like when they invited me. Why is it always on them? I think, yeah, it's something I'm working on. And I feel like the friends that I have here they're a great example of that to me, because I'm like, holy crap, like you guys text and invite for everything. And I don't do that. And sometimes it's because I need my space. But there are times when it's like, I feel like doing something, why don't I make the plan? Or even if I don't, like, I've had free weekends every weekend. So maybe one of those I could plan something. And it doesn't need to be, like you said, a large event. But reaching out goes both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
I don't really have anything else to say. Okay.
I don't have anything else to say. However, the next 20 minutes we're also going to talk. So, listen.
I was going to say for one of mine, like, don't count out your coworkers. But to your point that you brought up, like, I think it does depend on where you work, because it can be really hard. The friends that I'm closest with, I'm more close with them now that I've left. And I think to your point, when you're like, as I was leaving, you made connections. Like, maybe if you weren't actually moving, you would still hang out with them now that you're gone.
Yeah.
Like, luckily, because I'm still here and those people are still here, we still hang out. But I wouldn't say that we were like close of friends when I was working there.
In your friend group, is anybody a friend that you've not made through work or through work people? That you met either like at a gym or somewhere else, like not work related? Because I think, while you think on that, what I'm going to say is that's where I struggle.
Yeah.
And like where my frustration comes through is like I enjoy working with kids, and I'm probably going to be doing that for the rest of my life. How the fuck do you make friends? But I'm also very like, I like when I work with kids, but if I'm going to meet, want people that are like me. Because sometimes like you just meet people that work with kids, and it's just like, I think of Jess from
New Girl.
Great show.
You wouldn't be friends with Jess?
I would, but I'm Cece. I need a Jess, but I'm like, not that I'm a fucking model, but I'm like shit, like just like always straight resting bitch face. Like, I'm excited to work with kids, but when the day's over, I'm like, I need to go smoke a joint and chill and all these things. And sometimes it's just like, rainbows and sunshine and butterflies. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, shut up. No. So I think that's where I struggle. It's like, I have not made, okay, that's kind of negative because the past two that I said were from work. But I think like it's just hard to make friends through work.
I will say that my initial friends were through work here, yes. But I also think I've made friends through friends, through friends, through friends. Like, it's more of that like connection building of like when I go to some place or do something new because one person invites me, then I've made new friends that way. And in the past, I mean, sports were how I made friends. Like, I feel like going to fitness classes can be a way, which is why I'm like, I know I can make friends. And I've like, the few times I've been friendly at 6 a.m, not that I'm mean, but like approachable, I've like had great conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like invited to do this like ski trip, which I'm like, I need to save my money. But it's like, there's ways, and I think it don't count out like, it's like networking, which I hate. I hate that term, but it is in a way. Like, I know someone who knows someone, or like if you're telling a friend that you're interested in doing whatever, and they're like, oh, I know someone who does that, being connected that way.
Yeah.
I think I have so much cotton mouth. This has been the hardest episode.
That's why I didn't smoke before this episode, because I was like, I need to be focused and my mouth needs to not be doing weird shit.
Sorry, everyone. Hopefully these made sense and that you make some friends.
Yeah, I think just like wrapping it up, at least for me. So advice, like if you kind of, I know you don't know what's going on in my brain, but I think trying to stay positive, remember that it takes time. And also, like, sometimes it's okay not to have, like, a plentiful amount of friends. And also, like, just realizing that you are so complex and everybody else is so complex. So allowing, like, different spaces for different people. And so realizing that as well may help. And putting yourself out there. And even sometimes, like, putting yourself out there for friends might be easier than putting it could lead to being able to put yourself out there for, like, dates and stuff. So little things to keep in mind.
No, I love that point. I think that's beautiful. And I don't want to say anything more except reiterating
what I'm saying. Oh, I wanted to add one other thing.
Okay.
And this is, again, I like love this because I'm just speaking to myself. Explain where you are at in your life and what's going on.
Snaps to that.
Because I think like, ooh, Ellie, why are you gonna cry right now? What the fuck? I think people don't know unless you tell them. Like, that's what I love about being an adult is like, people aren't bitches anymore. I mean, they are, they can be. But it's with a little bit more empathy. Like, I'm still a bitch, but I'm not like a bitch for no reason. Like, it's just I have empathy for people. Yeah. And I forget that other people do too. And I think it's hard because you don't want to share like your business, or sometimes, like, at least for me, sometimes I feel like I just like trauma dump all of my problems all the time. And so when I actually feel like I need to say what's going on, I feel unable to share how I'm feeling or what I need, because in my mind, I'm like, I just trauma dumped. I don't want to add anything else. Like, I don't need to add what I need. Just like, fuck it. One, create boundaries so you're not trauma dumping all the time. But two, like, just say what you need or what's going on. Or, like I said before, if you're not able to, same like with the setting something up, or what you said is, if you're not able to like create this whole thing or of like going and doing an activity because you can barely get out of bed, say that. Like, I was thinking of the instance where you said Emma came to ask for coffee. Sometimes, like, I love being invited, but I'm unable to. So for me, I probably would have been like, I would love a coffee. Do you mind like bringing one to me, or like coming up, because sometimes you can't get out of bed or whatever it is, you're struggling through something. And so being able to be open and share that with people, one, breaks down that barrier and allows like a little bit of a deeper connection, and two, allows people to know where you're at in your life, which is always nice, just to navigate. Have someone there for you.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about the reverse of that, and like sometimes I assume that people know where I'm at or how I'm feeling, but it's also like then I'm also assuming where they're at and how they're feeling, and it's like I saw a graph. This was some stupid thing, but it was like a circle, and it was like this is the person, and then it was like a little tiny circle inside, and it's like this is what you know about them. And I do think like humans are so complex, and you have so many sides of you and so many emotions and things going on, and I just loved your point. That's all I'm trying to say.
I love it. It's evening. If you can't tell, it's dark out. The day is done and we're tired, so we can't make words into sentences.
But we just want to share some tips with you because, and hopefully hopefully relate. You said empathy and I can't get the word out of my head. Hopefully relate in some way, resonate. You're not alone in making friends as an adult. I think my whole life it's been hard. And I think it's humans are, like you said, complex, and you're just trying to navigate that and have empathy for people and get comfy being uncomfy.
Yeah. And don't count out the people that you already have in your life.
True that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys have any additional tips that you would like to share on making friends, please let us know.
Anything you've tried that worked for you?
Or anything you want to share, reach out.
Polite as fuck.
Polite as fuck. That's what we are. That's what we're always going to be.
Love you guys.
Love ya. Bye.